Hello and welcome back to Ontology Talk. I'm Adam Pease. Today I want to follow up on a previous video that I made where I started sketching out the notion of a shortage. And we talked about there being a shortage as a specific set of things that are related to one another. There's the agent that wants something. There's a type of object that he or she or it wants. There's an amount that the agent is willing to pay, a time period in which this object or set of objects is desired, and how many or how much of this the agent wants. And particularly, I thought I should mention one thing that I did too casually and too quickly in the first video is I didn't talk about the fact that this object is really a class of objects. Shortages are not for talking about one-off items. They're for talking about types or quantities of things. So if I need 5 oak tables, then it's really the quantity of 5 for the class of oak tables. It doesn't have to be a particular 5 oak tables. Any 5 oak tables that maybe there's some other requirements. Maybe it has to be an oak table of a certain style. And so this class could be very specific, but it's not about desiring a particular individual. That's not meaningful in terms of shortage. So we use this declaration called domain subclass, and it says that the argument that is specified, or here argument number 2 to the relation shortage, is of a class object or one of its subclasses, as opposed to if I have a shortage of something that I want to get. Here we're talking about an individual. We're talking about me, one individual human, or an individual corporation. All right, so we then mentioned last time that a shortage is a case where the agent desires to possess something. And we can further break this down into desiring to possess a count of something or a quantity of something. So this argument n, the fifth argument, is a quantity. Quantity is a common superclass for counts and quantities. So in this axiom, I want a particular, if I have a particular number of something that I've specified, then I really want a collection, a group of things, a set of things. The type must be of this class of the object that I want. The cardinality, the number of members in this collection, is n, the fifth argument, and I want to possess this collection at the end of that event. The next thing I can talk about then is, well, let's say it's not a count of things, but it's a quantity of something. So I might want 5 tables, I might want 3 yards of concrete. And so physical quantity is a compound thing in SUMO. It's a number and a unit, so 3 and cubic yard. So I want that there be some instance G of this type O. O could be, for example, concrete. It has a measure, 3 yards, and I want to possess it. Then we're going to have a similar mirroring of rules for a count of objects and a quantity of some sort of substance. And here I'm going to talk about a buying event. So the crucial thing in a shortage is there's a buying event that I want to happen, and it doesn't happen. It doesn't exist. It never takes place. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a shortage. I want some number of things, and it is not the case that there is a buying event during this time period where this object is transferred to me and I transfer a currency measure to the seller. I'm the agent. This is a collection of things. The members of the collection are of this type O, the second argument, this type of object. The count of the collection, the number of things in the collection, is n, and in the end I possess it. And this doesn't happen. That's part of the definition of a shortage. Similarly, if it's a quantity, maybe there's no concrete being manufactured right now, I want this 3 yards of concrete, and so I would like there to be this buying event during this time period T where there's something transferred to me, and it's an instance of this type of object, or it's a substance in this case. Substance is a subclass of object in SUMO, as distinguished from corpuscular object, a thing that is not a substance, but they're both objects. One is a substance, the other is a countable thing in linguistic terms. So I want this thing transferred to me, the substance transferred to me. I expect to pay such and such an amount for it. I'm the agent of this transaction. The thing that I want is an instance of O, this class of object, which in this case might be something like a substance concrete. The measure of it is N, so the fifth argument here is 3 cubic yards, and in the end I possess it. But it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen because that's what a shortage is. The next set of things are again a mirror where I have a count of things or a quantity of things, and this specifies that I desire a buying event of this type to occur. Here we're saying there wasn't a buying event that occurred, and here in these two rules we're saying that I desire such an event to occur. So it doesn't happen and I want it to happen, and that's why there's a shortage. So during time t, there's an object transferred, I pay some money, I'm the agent, there's a collection of things, the elements of that collection are of a type, there's a certain count of them, I possess it in the end. That's what I want to happen and what doesn't happen, and similarly for physical quantity. All right, so I hope this gives you some idea of the elaboration that's needed for this sort of concept. It's a fairly complicated concept, and I think a fairly powerful one that talks about something that's also quite topical. So if you're a company that's involved in logistics in any way, if you have a catalog of something, if you have suppliers, then you're probably going to need to talk about this notion of shortage. And you can ask yourself, have you actually captured this in your database? If it's just a database and maybe you just have a comment, well, then maybe it isn't quite as clear as it could be, and this could be an advantage to you in making sure that no human that is a programmer that comes later, or database designer, uses or defines or adds to the database in a way that's inconsistent with the original intentions of this term. And part of making sure that those constraints are not violated is not only to write them down in English so that other programmers can read them, but to start writing them down in some way that's computable so that your computer can check to see if there's been a usage that's inconsistent. It's a great way to make sure that you have fewer bugs if you can get this specific and this computational about your intended meaning of terms, in this case, shortage. All right, so I hope this was interesting to you, and I'd be very keen to hear what you might have to say. If maybe you would formalize the notion of shortage differently, or why. What would you do differently? Let me know. I'd like to discuss it with you. Thanks very much for listening.